Today I'm in Poland to have a look around a very interesting railway museum. This is the Silesia Railway Museum and contains a very extensive collection of Polish steam locomotives as well as some diesel and electric machines too. My Polish isn't so great, so I have an assistant to help me out with the Polish pronunciation as we go, to save you from me butchering the Polish words. So first up, where exactly are we and how did we get here? Well, I flew into Wrocław on good old Ryanair from Edinburgh. Just 2.5 hours flight and a 30-minute transfer by taxi to Wrocław main railway station. Here I took one of the yellow and white regional trains operated in the Lower Silesian region by KD or
Koleje Dolnośląskie.
Thank you. And we're heading towards
Wałbrzych.
Yep, thanks again. Which is only around 20 kilometres from the border with the Czech Republic. There's many KD trains that operate this route. And there's also PKP intercity trains as well, so it's well served. It takes around about 50 minutes to travel to
Wałbrzych.
But around 35 minutes out of Wrocław is where we're going today, to a town called
Jaworzyna Śląska.
By the way, I bought a ticket right through to
Wałbrzych.
as I was heading there after visiting the museum, and the ticket cost just 20 zloty, which is around about £3.90 or €4.70. What incredible value. Anyway, here we are at
Jaworzyna Śląska.
railway station, and just visible in the distance is the railway museum, called officially
Muzeum Kolejnictwa na Śląsku w Jaworzynie Śląskiej.
And now you can see why I'm getting some help with the pronunciation here. It's a short walk of only 650 metres to the museum, and it's pretty easy to find. One thing you'll notice straight away is that there is a huge amount of stuff here. More steam locomotives in one place I've ever seen before, and quite a range of interesting and rare rolling stock. There's some really remarkable things in this museum, and I'll show you them once we get inside. One of the unusual things is that you have to cross an operating main line on foot before getting into the museum, which is housed in the old engine shed and surrounding yard. No lights or alarm bells to tell you if a train is coming or not, so that was really unusual for us. Right at the entrance is the turntable and a great lineup of locomotives outside the shed. There's also this two-storey building that contained additional exhibits, a cafe, a shop and a kids' play area as well as toilets. This is where you buy your tickets too. And talking of tickets, the cost for a standard entry ticket, which includes a guided tour, which I'll get onto in a bit, was 35 zloty or £6.75 or €8.15. Again, great value for money, I think. So why is this museum here in an otherwise seemingly small village? Well, this place was part of Germany up until the end of the Second World War and was previously called Koningsveld. When the railway line from Breslau, now called Wrocław obviously, to Freiburg was built in the 1840s, a name was needed for this junction with the line from Świdaniec, now called Świdnica in Polish, to Strigał, now called Streckom. During the 7-Year War, there was the Bunzelwitz encampment around this area that in 1761 would have included the tent for Frederick the Great, so the name Koningsveld, or the King's Tent, was chosen for this town. The town remained small, with most residents connected to the railway in some way or other. It was only after the war, when the Silesian region was transferred to modern-day Poland, that the name was changed for the much harder for me to pronounce
Jaworzyna Śląska.
This Koningsveld sign is still there inside the engine shed though, which was really cool to see. And talking of inside the shed, it was 12:30 and time for the tour to begin. So we gathered by the religious shrine to be greeted by the guide, and we set off following him inside the shed. So here's where it got a bit tricky, because the tour was only in Polish and I don't speak any at all, so this tour was going to be a bit of a challenge. We skirted past the main area of the shed, passing, strangely enough, an American school bus, and headed into the office area out the back. However, as luck would have it, one other person on the tour did speak a bit of English and so translated some of what the guide said, which was really appreciated. Here we were taken to the boardroom, which had a number of interesting old artefacts on the walls to view. Then we saw some smaller offices set out to show you what the place would have looked like when operated through the ages. There was even a visit to the medical room, and we got to see some original Polish computer hardware from the 1970s, I believe. At the end of the corridor was a model railway room with a large layout and a number of smaller ones. The large one, however, was controlled by this real control panel which, if the guide's words were translated correctly, was used to train railway workers on train operations. Quite incredible to see, even if the trains did stop quite suddenly, the signals. However, I'm not sure what this cameo scene was offering in terms of railway operation, but it was sure funny to see. We then returned to the main shed where our guide took us around each locomotive on display and told us stories about each of them. Thankfully there were information boards beside almost everything in here, which was in Polish, German and English, so it was easy to find out more about what we were looking at. It was an unexpected bonus to be shown around, but as the tour came to an end, we were told that we could continue to look around ourselves unattended. Coming from a country where health and safety rules everything, this was quite incredible, and I certainly enjoyed having a good look around the shed. This locomotive was definitely the star for me here. It's a Prussian class T7, one of only two left in existence, the other being in Luxembourg. This one was delivered to the PKP back in 1919 and has been here in the museum since 2006. Restored to its original state as Breslau 1839, it has sadly suffered damage to one of its cylinder blocks, but aside from that and being a bit rough around the edges, it was a wonderful locomotive to see. And you can climb on board too. Just behind it was this very unusual wagon. From what we could tell from the limited information, this is a wagon that was part of an armoured train used by the Red Army in the Second World War, or maybe used by the Polish Army. I wasn't quite sure. Let me know in the comments if you know about this wagon, please. Another interesting piece of rolling stock was this Polish postal system wagon, and it was decked out inside as if it had just been left after its last run. Maybe it had. There was lots more to enjoy in the shed, so have a look around and I'll meet you at the exit in a moment. Okay, we're heading out now, but before we leave, check out these cool steam road rollers. And this unusual little vehicle. I think it might actually be battery powered. So we're back outside now and had free rein to check out everything in the surrounding area, which was a lot of stuff, many of them being steam locomotives in various stages of preservation, or decay depending on their fate, I guess. So some of the highlights for me included this tiny little fireless 040 locomotive. I've never actually seen one of these in the metal before. And beside it, these two old brown vans. They might not look like anything significant, but these were actually wagons used to transport people around when they were being resettled after the Second World War. Inside they were kitted out with things like stoves and beds, and the one with the crumbling brakeman's cab even still had the CCCP insignia on the side. Quite a moment in history these wagons have been through. So let's wander around and check out the wonderful selection of locomotives and rolling stock that you can check out here, and in many cases, climb on board too. I'll meet you back at the turntable when you're done. So with the sun starting to go down, our time at the Railway Museum of Silesia has come to an end. Thanks for coming around with me today, and for me it was definitely a memorable and interesting visit. I hope you get the chance to visit the museum yourself one day. I'm sure you won't regret it. Thanks for watching, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.